Welcome. Thank you for being
Hi.
here. My name is Daniel Stillwell. I am the editor of the e-news for IFTA, and we're talking today with Israel Charny. He is a past president and recently wrote a chapter in a book about anger and hate and maybe thinking about these things differently. So, hello, Israel.
Hello, Daniel.
Since IFTA is a varied community, it's often helpful to hear about different kinds of work that mental health practitioners are doing around the world. What kind of mental health clinician do you identify as, and what does that look like in your context?
Well, for years I've said about myself that I am an existential hyphen systemic hyphen psychoanalytic therapist, and
Okay,
that the most important part of that statement was the hyphens.
I love it. So what does that look like where you are?
What's it look like? It means meeting with people without playing so much of the role of the expert who is going to fix them up, and trying to clarify how they are living, how they've been living, how they grew up, and to work out a clear-cut picture with them of where the trouble is coming from in their lives now and what implications it has for changing lifestyles.
Amazing.
And I love it.
Yes, what, and for those of the readers or viewers that aren't familiar with you, where exactly in the world are you?
Ah, I am sitting on top of some not very tall mountains that are the range of mountains of Jerusalem.
Mm,
For many years, we lived in Jerusalem proper, and some 7 years ago, as old age is creeping up on me and my wife, we moved to a retirement residence on top of one of the mountains about 20 kilometers from Jerusalem. On a clear day, we can see the city.
mm.
On clear days, we have the absolute pleasure of looking out at what are known as the Judean Mountains. In fact, I can happily reveal that our beautiful porch moves right into the mountains, and we are able to go out there naked with no reservations whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to move to the recent chapter or essay that you published. It's called Channeling Anger and Hate for Protecting Human Life. It's been published in a book entitled Perspectives on Hate, edited by Robert Sternberg. Can you give the readers a taste of the article or the chapter so that they can go in and find it and read it more in depth?
Yeah, the book as a whole clearly is committed to reducing hate, and bless the author, who's an excellent clinician and not clinician, researcher for many years. Here I come along and respond to his invitation to participate because I'm a known genocide scholar. I hate overt violence. I do everything I can to contribute a little to reducing it.
Hmm.
And I contribute a chapter that I almost entitled In Praise of Anger.
Mm.
In praise of anger and hate. And my message is that we got off in a wrong direction. We got off to bipolar thinking, good versus bad, black versus white. Anger is so often a destructive emotion. Hate is an even more intense version of anger and is often so destructive. Therefore, good people, and that includes many of us therapists, decided that we want to take some Lysol and clean it off the face of the earth, and bring kindness and goodness and understanding and empathy and graciousness and recovery and repair and so forth in its place. And what my thesis is that anger is a natural emotion.
Mm.
It is one of the palette. I like to think of it like an artist who has paints of various emotions. All of them are given to us by nature in evolution for good purposes, for handling various aspects of human experience. I encourage the use of anger along with simultaneously emphasizing that one is never to be overtly violent and destructive of the other human being, except incidentally in true self-defense. And what I try to get across in the article is that this is an excellent basis for treating major outbursts of emotional aggressiveness turned violence, such as in families
Mm-hmm.
when spouses attack one another, children attack parents, parents attack children. What I say to the patient, and I've done this in the heart of the violent episode, I say very emotionally, not detachedly, not wisely, you know that doing actual harm to another human being is wrong, but I understand that you're very angry and I'm going to help you with your anger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that dialectic integration which is the basis of my treatment intervention. And it's worked for me. I'm older now, so I don't get the kinds of cases I used to. But I've taken away a good number of knives from teenagers. I took away a pistol from one angry husband who I totally understand wanted to shoot his wife after he found how she cheated on him. But we got rid of the pistol and we went with the anger and looked then for the constructive ways to use that anger to go and address the real situation. That's what the article's about.
Excellent. Yes, the work in mindfulness, in emotional regulation, and how those can be both grown and honed in our relationships has been certainly developing over the last couple of years. And it sounds like this is an excellent piece of that overall story. I'd like to shift now to IFTA as an organization. You were once president of our lovely little band of brothers and sisters and siblings. What do you think people need to know about either the history or where we are now or where the organization may head in the future from your perspective?
Look, I participated in my long career in many an organization. I headed a number of them. What I will say about IFTA, it's the most fun organization of all of them.
All right.
It is terrific. The coming together of many of us from different cultures, nationalities, religions, areas. Now, that also happens in other organizations, but the coming together here is in a kind of family atmosphere of happiness and playfulness and discovery and learning, and relatively speaking, with a reduced emphasis or appearance of those horrible qualities of academic jealousy, rivalry,
Mm.
competitiveness, and destructiveness that grace so many of our finest academic professional organizations. I enjoyed IFTA year after year enormously.
Well, I hope that you will, and we all will be able to gather in the future after the pandemic ends. We're already talking about meeting in Japan in 2022. But obviously we'll go to different places and be able to fellowship and gather and be that sort of systemic team once again. I'd like to...
Apropos of the article, when you mentioned Japan, there's one study which I cite, which reports that the Japanese do better health-wise after expressing aggressive feelings than Westerners do. An interesting direction for thinking. One can learn to use anger to make you feel better and be a better person. I didn't say the Japanese are a quiet people and don't have a history of rottenness. I did quote a study, though, that refers to that difference in health outcomes.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we want to do these interviews and why we do want to expose ourselves to the different truths and wisdoms from different contexts, because everybody has something to bring, where none of us are perfect, and violence and anger are pretty universal. So let's understand the larger patterns and move forward. Is there anything else personally or professionally you'd like the viewers of eNews to know about you?
Well, the truth is I'm a very split personality. And by that I mean that for years now, I have divided my time between being a therapist and being a genocide researcher. And my newest book, which will be out in about 2 months.
Wow.
After the last few have been about psychotherapy. My newest book is called Who Really Lied? How Israel Cannot Deal with the Armenian Genocide. Genocide Denial, State Deception, Uncovering Truth, and the Politicization of History. Now, if that sounded like I was 1,000,000 miles away from my noble origins as a psychologist and psychotherapist, it isn't, because at the heart of it is the issue of denial. Israel is a country, like many countries, that denies like crazy all sorts of ugly things, and it is not very hard to find in every therapy session that we do how much denial is at work, protecting people but exacting a price for that protection, because it leads to fake news.
Well, it is a well-timed book to come out, not only because of that particular geopolitical issue, but how it echoes so many other issues around the world right now.
Yes.
So, well, Israel, thank you so much for being a part of this, and I'm sure people can Google any of the things that we brought up today to find more. If people want to contact you directly, is that something you're comfortable with?
I cope with that monster called email. I have not as yet declared a curfew. So yes, I have an email address. It's interesting because it's NCY, which stands for encyclopedia, GENO, which stands for genocide, at gmail.com. That email address originated some years ago when I edited the first encyclopedia on genocide.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to reading and hearing from you soon.
Thank you, and congratulations on the nice journalistic work that you're doing.
My pleasure.